If you haven't guessed, I'm a really big fan of animation. Ever since I was a kid, I always enjoyed watching cartoons, mostly on Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon when there were a good number of cartoons on Nickelodeon. But that was a lot of my childhood. So I grew up watching Justice League, Batman Beyond, SpongeBob SquarePants, Fairly Odd Parents, Danny Phantom, and of course I was a big fan of anime series, which would be, Eastern animation, so Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, Yu-Gi-Oh! Something that always really stood out to me about cartoons is how timeless they are. Like, you can go back and watch a Bugs Bunny cartoon from the 1940s and still get enjoyment out of it today. And that can be said about a lot of animated series. And the biggest corporation that I think is important to recognize for their animation is Disney. Growing up in the 90s, there were so many awesome Disney animated films that we got. For example, Aladdin, Lion King, Beauty and the Beast. I think you can see where I'm going with this. In these most recent years, and especially this year, Disney has been pumping out live-action remakes. Now, I use the term live-action loosely. I mean, let's be fair, there is a lot of CG, so is it really live-action? Technically not, but it's not animated. It's with actors, living people doing the movements and talking and singing, etc. But they are called live-action remakes. Now, initially, I really didn't have that much of an issue with the live-action remakes. The first one that I can remember at least was The Jungle Book, and then we got Beauty and the Beast, and now, we got Dumbo, Lion King, Aladdin, all these films that are timeless animated classics being remade into this new live-action sphere. I didn't have an issue with this at first, because I thought, okay, one or two here and there can't be that bad. But now I'm seeing a bunch of these remade movies, and I gotta say, I really don't like it. It's not that I'm not open to new ideas or new interpretations of stories. As an example, I will give Maleficent a pass. That was a retelling of the story of Sleeping Beauty from Maleficent's perspective, and I thought it was pretty good. It was an interesting twist, and it's nice to see the villain take the protagonist role and see things from their side of the story, even if, of course, they're not technically the same character as they were back in the cartoon. And more of that, I think I would be okay with. But just rehashing the exact same movie the exact same way, it feels very soulless. What made animation so good, especially back then, and even now in some cases, is the heart and soul that's put into it. You see it with each of these hand-drawn frames, these awesome, majestic scenes that these animators build, and these wonderful, timeless characters that we remember and love and quote every single time that I talk to somebody. It's beautiful. But these live-action remakes, while visually appealing, they don't have the same heart and soul. To me, it feels like another cash grab for Disney. And that's really a shame. I'm a big supporter of animation. I love it. I would much rather do voice acting, being completely honest, than live acting, which, don't get me wrong, I am an opportunist. Any opportunities for acting I'd take, but it's just something I'm much more passionate about. There's something about animation that you just can't do in real life. I'll give an example of Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast, the remake, was visually stunning. But, Beast was weird looking. It just looked weird. The point of Beast in Beauty and the Beast was to be scary and intimidating and horrifying. He was a monster on the outside, which was supposed to contrast what he was on the inside. But for the Beauty and the Beast live-action remake, he's not really ugly. He doesn't look like he just looks like a really hairy dude. And I think that was to the film's detriment. Now, one thing that I would say, and I see a lot of other YouTubers talk about this as well, I wouldn't mind a remaster of animated series. Imagine if they took Aladdin, right? Like the classic Aladdin story, and they just redid the animation, kept the voice tracks exactly the same, but redid the hand-drawn animation with new technology. That is something I would like to see, because I would like to see how the technology that we have now for making these animations would be better than it was back then. And I'm not saying that these existing animations aren't good. As I keep saying, they are timeless. You can watch these anytime, and you will find something to relate to with these movies, and they can speak to you. It's the beauty of animation. But doing these soulless live-action remakes is not the way to go. And if you try to say that this is for a new generation, no, it's not. Because they can just watch the animated movie and have a much better experience. Now, I will say this. Some properties, I think, would have done better if they had a live-action remake. For example, Atlantis, The Lost Empire. You ever see Atlantis? Atlantis is such a kick-ass movie. Everything about that movie is great. From its princess, who is totally a Disney princess, but Disney won't give her recognition, to the main character of Milo, and all the side characters around him, an all-star voice acting cast. Truly incredible. But it doesn't get the love it deserves. It never did. Because it wasn't a big princess movie like Mulan or Sleeping Beauty or whatever. It's like, you just screw Atlantis. We don't need more. Atlantis would have been good, or I should say, would have been more well received. I think if it was either a live-action movie or maybe a live-action series. That would have been really cool to see. Imagine the adventures of Milo Thatch and all of his buddies going on adventures trying to find the lost city of Atlantis. That would have been something really cool. Or Treasure Planet. Treasure Planet is such a good Disney movie that doesn't get the respect it deserves. I think that would do pretty okay with a live-action remake. And while both those series still do hold up very, very well with animation, I do admit that maybe a live-action remake could be done if it's done correctly. But from as we've seen, personally, I just don't think that Disney is able to make an accurate live-action remake. It doesn't have the soul. And that's why every time I see one of these, I'm just disappointed. Because why would I want to go and go to a film where I know I'm going to have a bad time when I could just watch the animated movie and have a good time? Because I know it, and I love it already. I do understand that this is just a business practice for Disney to make even more money for their Dragon's Hoard. And I hope that through trial and error, they will be able to learn that certain properties can be adapted and some should be left alone. But I guess only time will tell if that was true. And if you enjoyed the live-action remakes, hey, who am I to judge? Personally, it's not for me, but they are very visually appealing. And the CGI in it is pretty impressive most of the time. So if you enjoy these things, hey, go have fun. There's nothing wrong with holding on to a little bit of nostalgia. It's just not for me. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been another episode of Kirk Talk, and I will see you in the next one.